Hi, everyone. This is an overview of the rhetorical situation, audience purpose, and effective writing. I want everyone to have a good understanding of these concepts by the end of this module. Let's see. Okay, so first, some housekeeping stuff. How are our grade contracts coming along? Remember, those are due at the end of this week. How are we feeling about the workload at this point? This is pretty much what a typical week will look like for us. Readings and viewings, a few writing assignments, working towards a major project, and that's pretty much what this will look like the rest of the semester. And I hope things are going well in your other classes. I know you guys are probably taking several at once. I know you're doing amazing. And here's a little meme. Memes got me through every step of education I decided to walk up. So memes are important. Let's see. So the rhetorical situation refers to a context in which communication is taking place. It helps us understand why and how people use language to persuade and inform and engage. It's made up of the writer, the purpose of the work, the audience, the message, and the context and culture that it exists within. The speaker is, of course, who is communicating. So this isn't always someone who's verbally speaking. It could be a writer, a verbal speaker, a creator of the message is basically what that means. There's the audience or who the message is intended for. Understanding the audience helps us understand shape and tone, shape of the tone and language and the approach of the message. And all of these little things help us understand more about the message itself. There's the purpose or why the message is being communicated. It could be to inform or persuade or to entertain or simply to express ideas. There's the message or what is being communicated. This refers to the content, ideas, or argument being shared. And then, of course, there's context. What are the circumstances surrounding the communication? This includes factors like time, place, cultural background, and any relevant events that are happening in the world that could affect how the message is being received. One of the key areas to understanding and responding to a rhetorical situation involves with connecting with a specific audience. So beyond simply writing to a generic group of readers or citizens of the world, authors use specific rhetorical strategies depending on who that audience is. An audience is any collective intended recipient of a text, whatever form or mode that text may take on. Texts for our purposes could be written or oral or visual. A text is simply a work that is being examined. It doesn't necessarily mean something is written out in words. It could be any number of things. So the audience, again, is any collective intended recipient of the text and the person or group the author wants to influence. Before you can analyze how effectively an author engages an audience, you have to think about that audience and consider their needs. Sweetheart, I have a toddler, so she may wander in and out of our meeting. That's Mommy's coffee. You want some water? Here you go. You can take the water. Be very careful. So when you are looking at a rhetorical situation and attempting to interpret it, you're going to want to consider who the author is addressing. Professional community, professionals themselves, an academic community, what background interests or values come into play when communicating with that audience? What context does the audience need? Situational circumstances, historical context, supporting details, necessary evidence. What style or voice is appropriate for the audience? What is the audience's perspective in terms of their likelihood to agree or disagree? What should your audience do with this information? Is there a call to action? Think back to the last paper you wrote. Did you have an audience in mind? Did it feel like you were only writing to the teacher? It's okay. It's a possum. It's a toy possum. Focusing on the teacher when you're writing Leaves us fixated on the correctness of writing instead of devoting the energy to shaping our rhetoric to reflect the values of a specific audience. Consider the greater purposes of what you're writing for everything you write in here. Yes, you're trying to get the grade, but think beyond me as your audience. Think about who you could be tailoring your work to. Um, it isn't always about who's grading it. And when you leave school, you're not going to be typing your work or speaking your work to a professor. You're going to be making things that will impact the world around you. Consider your most recent Facebook message or Instagram post or snap or tweet. You are probably super aware of your audience and how what you posted or shared might affect them or what their reaction might be. You are anticipating their reaction and fitting your post accordingly. Knowing that you already have experiences with audience expectations should help you understand the how of writing, not just the what you're writing in relation to your audience. You know how to shape work to be interpreted by people. This isn't new to you. You know how to do this. We can do this. There are different types of audience too. There's the imagined audience, where you construct your own audience that has broadly defined values and interests. Don't just write to me as your professor or teacher, but consider based on your purpose and main idea who would benefit from the information. What do you want them to take away, and what do you want them to do with that information? This could be prose in the form of an anecdotal story like your literacy narrative, or it could be a research paper you write later on. Choose your audience accordingly. And then there are discourse communities or groups of people who share common goals and interests and ways of communicating, oftentimes using specialized language or jargon to discuss specific topics or issues. Discord community is a pretty heavy term, but it's not difficult to understand. Think if you play a video game, you have friends that understand the lingo of that video game. That's a discourse community. If you play volleyball, you have people in a circle that know what volleyball is. They're part of that discourse community. It could be football. It could be your identity as a human being in any type of specific culture you might belong to. Like for me, I'm part of the Appalachian discourse community, and more specifically, the Southeastern Kentuckian discourse community. I understand a lot of the things in that little circle of existence. These are discourse communities, and you all belong to so many of them that we take for granted. We don't really think about them that often, but we belong to these little circles and groups of people, and we have this sense of belonging and understanding in them. Those are discourse communities. There's organized and intended audience or a specific group that individuals require more specific language and info. It's okay, baby. Maybe you're writing to a group of economists who require technical and professional dialogue in clearly defined areas of interest. Maybe you're writing to the local school board and need comprehensive research on the policies and activities of a school district. These are organized audiences that you have to be more specific with the information you're providing them and how you're providing it. You always want to think about your tone and style and how those come into play. Style is the syntactical elements that such as sentence length, word choice, punctuation. Think about your purpose and make sure you're fitting that style accordingly. There's your tone, or how the audience should feel once they receive your message. Think about writing an informal letter to your grandmother versus a personal email to your boss versus a text to your best friend. Those are different things. Think about how you might email me as opposed to one of your friends. Hello, Instructor Lauren. I'm having some trouble understanding yesterday's rhetorical awareness assignment versus, hey, that one assignment from last week is confusing. Help me with this, please. Like, you're always shaping for your intended audience. Um, okay. I think that is all for this one. I hope you guys have a better understanding of the rhetorical situation and how audience can be shaped to better fit the rhetorical situation. Each situation needs a set of different things tailored accordingly in a way so as they will be easier understood by your audience. And the first step of that is figuring out who your audience is. And furthermore, when we are looking at work, when we're reading something that's been written by someone else or directed by someone else, or we're listening to a message from someone else, these are things that we can think about to better understand what their goal is and what they're sharing and how they're connecting with us. So as you're doing your readings this week and next week and next week and the week after that, think about the voices that you're hearing and why they are saying what they are saying and how they're saying it. Really pick that apart. Because you are encountering rhetoric every day of your life, whether it be the commercials you're listening to on the radio or YouTube videos when you're getting a commercial, you're talking to your best friend about what you're going to eat. You are watching the news or listening to a podcast or walking down the street and you see a sign or billboard on the side of the road. Rhetoric is everywhere. Um, really think about that this week. I hope you guys are having an amazing second week, and I will see you all soon.